How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video. Today I have my tanks as my background, which actually was the original plan. But today is not about these tanks. Today I have quite an interesting scape for you guys. So as you probably already saw from the thumbnail, today I have a base or a vase, a vase or a vase, whatever you want to call it. For the purpose of my video, I'm going to call it a vase. I have this vase that actually originally came with some small like plants inside it and some soil and some gravel. But primarily what interested me, or what interests me, was the fact that this space just looked really cool. What I really liked about it was the fact that it had this gap here, which to me just said immediately bottom layer of soil. So I saw it and I was like, you know what, let me purchase it. It was 50% off. So I paid about $17, $18 for it, which isn't a terrible price. But yeah, today we're going to be scaping this small little vase here. I don't know how it's going to go. This is going to be my first time doing something like this. It should be interesting. It should be fun. I'm going to try to come up with the best possible scape because this is a very small space. It's about, like I said, I think I said it, I'm not sure, but if I didn't, it's about 1.2, 1.3 gallons. It's tiny. But we're going to keep it small. We're going to try to add as many plants as we can. And yeah, let's go ahead and try to make the best possible escape in this tiny little vase. All right, so I zoomed it in and kind of brought everything forward so that you can see the vase better. And I think it looks good. Anyway, so I already made this here. This is going to be kind of a very intimate into the kind of in the scape's face kind of deal here because, well, I have to zoom it in, and I also turned the lights in the tanks in the background. I dimmed them down because otherwise there's going to be way too much of a glare, so we don't want that. But anyway, I already pre-made this here. I literally just stuck some wood to the back of some cereal stone with some cotton, not some cotton, some paper towel, and I put it in the back. We'll see how that looks. If I don't like how it looks in the tank, I mean it's like perfectly sized. But if I don't like how it looks, I'll change it. But yeah, let's just go ahead and start. All right, so for the very bottom of the tank, I'm gonna use actually some of the soil that came with the vase that the plants were on. It said it was organic potting mix. There's nothing wrong with using organic potting mix. A lot of people don't like using organic potting mix. I've used it before in some tanks and it actually worked. It worked really well. It doesn't have like crazy amount of nutrients, which is the good part. So it just works kind of, well as a base layer. So I'm just gonna put some of that. I might actually end up having, you know what? Let me just lean it over because there's rocks in here. Please don't crack. So I'm gonna use about that much there, maybe a little more. And again, the reason why I really like this vase is because it had this little like indent here. It's perfect for the soil. I'm still gonna add more on top of that. I'm gonna add some aqua soil, and then on top of the aqua soil, I'm gonna put some sand, just because I want to lock down this actual potting mix. I don't want any of that coming up, just because it can, it's not gonna be harmful to, because there's gonna be shrimp going in here. Okay, I'm only gonna put a couple of shrimp, maybe like 3, 4 shrimp. It's not going to be harmful to the fish, but I don't want it to really dirty up the water column. I don't want there to be anything leaching into the water, so that's why I'm going to put the sand. Okay, so now I'm going to add some aqua soil. I have this much and probably about maybe half a cup left of aqua soil. It's not a lot, but it should do the job. Should be enough nutrients in here. Oh, this is cool because I can just rotate the base. Look at that. That's kind of handy. Right, so I think, why am I shaking? Let me just use my hands. I think that might actually be good enough because I don't want to keep like building up this the substrate level or the substrate layer any higher, because then I'm really not going to have any space left in here, So I think now what I'm going to do is I'll probably add a little bit more aqua soil towards the back, just so that the rock kind of sits at an angle and it's not just like straight up, or maybe not. Let me just see how it looks first. All right, so here is the rock and the piece of wood. This is spider wood, by the way, or it might actually be red more. I think it's spider. We're gonna go with spider. So I want it to sit there. Ooh, that might. See, because if I have it kind of like sitting at an angle here, maybe kind of off to the side, I can kind of get away with something like this, which then still leaves me like space to plant here, because I have some plants that are gonna stay small, hoping that this scape goes well. I think it will. It's just probably gonna take a little long to really come alive. So what I have is like some sturgeon ribbons. I have some ferns which don't really need to be planted, and I have some pinnatifida that I can't forget. I have to put the pinnatifida. I have to wet the wood, put it on the wood, and then maybe some on the rock. So I have pinnatifida. I have some repens, S repens. I have, what else do I have? I think I have some lobelia cardinales, and then I have one more. Can't remember, but I think I have one more. All right, so now what I have is some of that desert sand. If any of you guys saw or watched, if any of you guys watched the Beta Island build, I used this desert sand. That's what it's called. I cut up the actual label, but it's desert sand that I got at Home Depot. I was surprised when I found this sand at Home Depot because it's actually very nice. It's very fine sand, so I think that'll go well with shrimp. Sorry if you hear the crackling on the mic. I keep forgetting about that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this sand all in the front. I'm gonna try to cover everything as best I can. And it's not really a decorative layer. I think I said it earlier where I just literally want this to kind of block um, or lock down the substrate, or at least the substrate that has all the nutrients. I kind of wanted to lock it down down in the bottom. Only reason why I'm not really just pouring this in, you might be like, well, why don't you just pour it in if it's gonna lock, it's supposed to cover everything and lock everything down. Just because I don't want to get like big like lumps of sand in one area and not cover everything around it. And let me just look at it real quick and see if I'm happy with the way that rock looks there. I think it looks good. I'm gonna end up putting like some decorative gravel around it. But I mainly was just focused on having like an open area here and an open area here, just so that I can plant. I'll probably end up putting the S repens on this side, maybe the lobelia on this side. Kind of, you'll probably have to view it from like this side, or I might end up adding like maybe another decorative rock. I have some like little bits of Sirius stone that I can put around it, but I'm not really sure yet. I think you know what? I think I'm gonna leave it like that just because I feel like if I put more like decorative stuff other than the decorative gravel that I'm gonna put in there, it's just gonna make it too bulky. There might not be enough room for the plants, so I think I'm gonna stick with that. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to squeeze my hand in here and get some of this gravel as close as I can. This is literally like a scape like I would do in a bigger size tank. I'll probably end up building up this gravel like in the back. So I don't really have any stem plants going in. This I would love to put stem plants in here, but this thing this whole it's just way too small. This vase is too small for stem plants. But I say that now, I might end up actually doing it. I don't know. I just really like stem plants. I think stem plants are probably my favorite. All right, so for now, that's all the decorative gravel I'm going to be putting in there. And now we're going to get to one of my favorite parts. Oh, I remember the plant that I was going to put in there. I'm going to put some tripartita. I'm going to put some tripartita in there. Hopefully it spreads out nicely. But yeah, these are going to be the plants I'm going to be put in here. I have them on a foam plate just because it's not a lot of plants. I didn't feel like bringing out my big tray. But yeah, I have some repens. I have a fern. I have some, oh my God, I messed up. I forgot to put the pinnatifida on the wood before I locked it down. All right, so since I messed up and I didn't put the pinnatifida in right away, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wet the wood in here and then just plant it. The reason why I'm getting the wood wet, pause, is because I want to be able to just put the glue on the pinnatifida itself, like on the stem, and just put it on the wood without having to put too much pressure on the on the glue itself or on the stem, I can just kind of place it on there and it will lock it down. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but when super glue touches water, it kind of starts turning like right away into like this plasticky film. At least like the surface level, right? It turns into like this plasticky film, and it sticks. Obviously, you need to let it cure for a little longer. But once it touches water, literally, it's stuck to the wood. All right, so for this application, by the way, you guys haven't really seen my face throughout the scape. Not that you really need to see it, but we're kind of mainly focused on the scape itself. But anyway, what I was gonna say is, for this type of gluing, at least when you're gonna glue plants to wood or rocks, you want to use the gel version of super glue. So what I have here is Loctite. This is a gel version. It's really good. Honestly, you could use cheaper. I mean, it's not super expensive to buy super glue, but I like Loctite. It's cheaper than the Gorilla brand, but I use both. This is just what I happened to see first and saw that it was like $1 off. So I just I went ahead and picked it up. But my main point is, you want to use the gel because the gel, again, it's not runny. And like I said, once the glue makes contact with the wet surface of the wood, it should basically be stuck on. All right, so there's a bit of a close-up. As you can see, the pinna right there, it's now glued onto the wood. And that's literally all it is. You just put a dab of super glue gel in the back of or on the stem, and then you just glue it onto the wood or rock or wherever you're gonna put it. So now that the pinna is in, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and place some of this sterigene ribbons into the foreground. By the way, I only put like 3 small pieces of pinna just because when it takes off, it gets pretty big. Obviously, you got to trim it, but I don't want it to be just too overcrowded with pinna, even though it's my favorite plant as of now. I don't want it to look too crowded with it. But now I'm going to put some S repens down in here, some mature S repens. Make sure that's locked down. I don't have a lot. I could have gotten more. I have some S repens that's mature in one of my tanks. This is actually where I got it from, but like I said, this is a very small little base tank. I don't want to overcrowd it with too many plants. Definitely don't want to overcrowd it. The next we have the Lobelia cardinalis. Lobelia cardinalis is actually a really nice plant. I think this is the smaller one. I'll put that one there. Got to make sure you put it like deep into the substrate, because I mean, it's not such a huge like layer between the sand and the actual nutrients, so it's maybe about ½ inch. So it's not too much, but definitely want to make sure that you get it deep in there so that the roots reach the actual nutrients as soon as possible. Now this next plant, I know this plant, no matter where you put it, dude, this plant just takes off, and it's the tripartita. Tripartita just takes off like crazy. By the way, I know I've just been saying like for example, I just said tripartita, and you're like, what the hell was that? For any of you guys who aren't familiar with like aquascaping or aquatic plants or anything like that, I probably ended up putting the names up on the screen just so that everybody, knows exactly what it is. But this plant, every single time I put it in any tank, honestly, it just does well. Fingers crossed. In here, it does the same thing, and I think it will. Just got to make sure you get it in there as deep as you can. All right, now for the final plant, which is going to be a Java fern. This is going to be kind of like my stem plant in the back. I'll probably put it back, not probably, I'll definitely put it back here just so it kind of locks down in the back with the wood. All right, so this is the tiny little light that I'm using. I think, yeah, it's a lifeguard light. I got this light a really long time ago. I say a really long time ago, maybe like 1.5 years ago, with my first tank. This it's not the strongest light. Obviously, I don't expect the plants here to, like for example, the Pinnatifida to turn like a bright red, um, or to really reach its full potential. But what I like about this light, it's very small, kind of just sits in the back. And then I have, so that's just all white. Then you have like a full spectrum, and then you have just your RGB, which looks a little weird. I think I'm probably gonna end up having it either like the full spectrum with the RGB and the white, or probably just have it all white. I think it stands out more when the light is all white. So I'll probably just leave it like that. I got the little tank filled up. The one thing with vase scapes, or when you put water in them and then you have like plants or something in it, it ends up looking a little bit funny, right? Just because of the shape of the actual glass. So it looks like way bigger. It looks like expand. It just looks blown up. But when you look at it from the top, obviously it looks more normal. You can see the plants better. Um, but I think it looks good. I think it looks good. But now the only thing that's left to do is to dechlorinate the water. And what I like to use is I like to use API's stress coat. Now this, like it says here, it instantly makes tap water safe, removes chlorine and chloramines, detoxifies heavy metals, and protects fish skin. So meaning it adds like this aloe um, coat to the fish. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some of that API. This is not sponsored, by the way. I'm just letting you know that I like the API because it's just really good. I've been using it for a long time, even years ago, before I even I like to put more than I should though, because you only need about 5 ml for like 10 gallons of water. This is like a gallon and like 1.2 gallons. So about 10, 12 drops should be more than enough. But yeah, so when you go ahead and start a new tank, you always want to dechlorinate your water. Again, small volume of water. You don't even need to put that much in it. There's still a little bit in there. Go ahead and put it all in. But that was just about 1 ml that went in there, and that's more than enough. Probably way too much, but you can't really add too much. You know what I mean? Unless you were to put this whole entire bottle into that. Obviously, no one's going to do that, but it's not a bad thing to add a little bit more because at the end, it's more beneficial to the fish, or in this case, the shrimp that are going to go in here. All right, guys, you're going to have to excuse me if I look all sweaty. It's because I really am. It's starting to get really hot here in California, and where I'm recording this, my room is extremely hot. I can't have the AC on because if I do, it's going to make too much noise and the microphone is going to pick it up. But anyway, besides that, I think the tank or the vase is looking great. Now I just kind of have to let it settle in. It's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks for it to actually settle in, I would guess. I'm not going to put any shrimp in there until I see that the actual, the water, obviously I'm going to be testing it. If I need to do any water changes, I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. But I just need to wait a little while and make sure all the parameters are good and the tank is ready to go. Obviously, the Sirius Stone, if you guys don't know, is really good for shrimp because they typically like a higher pH. So hopefully that'll, make this a really good scape at the end. Make the scape a great home for the shrimp that I'm going to put in here. All right, but all that's left is to wait and see how this little tank turns out. All right, so I've now left the tank sitting here for a few days. The tank is looking great. I ended up adding a few more plants just because, I mean, I knew I would eventually. I just needed a little bit more of a pop in there. So I ended up adding some Rotala back here. And then in the back, because of the shape, you can't really see it, but in the back, there is, I think this is nice, Nasea trifolia, right in the back. I forget how to say it, but I mean, let's see if we can get a good uh, view from the top. There we go. I just thought that the tank needed a little bit more of a pop, so I think the mainly the Rotala here makes it pop a little bit more. And then I also did add another S repens in the bottom just because again I felt like I needed to add a little bit more. It looked a little bare, but now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and catch some shrimp, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put them in. All right, now I'm gonna take some of the shrimp that are in my Pinnatifida arch tank. By the way, the Pinnatifida it's looking great. I mean, it's growing a lot more now. I've been using fertilizer because obviously they're not in the substrate, so they need fertilizer in the water column. But I think they're looking great. This guy here is growing like crazy. But anyway, I just got to try to find some shrimp. Oh, there's one in the back, all the way back there. I'm gonna put I think 3 shrimp in there, and I'm pretty sure they'll do well. all I gotta do, like I said, is catch them, and then well, the temperatures are the same here as in the vase, so there shouldn't be much of an issue with that. Let's just go ahead and catch them, and then we'll go ahead and put them in. All right, so I was able to catch one blue or blue dream and two of the orange because these little guys just, oh my God, they can't even swim properly in this glass. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna put them in there. I don't think three shrimp is too much for that 1.2 gallons of water. If at any point I feel like they're not doing well, I'll just go ahead and take them out. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and put these little guys in this tank. All right, so here we go. Let's see if I can get them in with the light on. There you go, guys. Welcome to your new tiny home. And there they are. These guys are probably gonna immediately get to work. That's what shrimp do. As soon as they go into a new tank, typically they go in and just start nibbing at everything. They go on the wood, they go on the plants. So that's what I'm expecting from these little guys, to immediately just start getting to work. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the build of this tiny little vase tank. I personally feel like it turned out great. I tried to keep it as small as possible in terms of hardscape and plants. I did try to put, as many plants as I could in there, just because the primary filter of this little tank is going to be the plants and the substrate. So I'm hoping that they'll do great. It's been a couple of days, so obviously it's not enough time to tell if the plants are actually going to do well. It takes more around 2 to 3 weeks, but I personally feel like I did a good enough job putting enough nutrients in there and making sure, that the water also, I do water changes constantly. That'll help a lot. But regardless of that, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. One thing I do want to mention is that a lot of people may not agree with putting livestock in such a tiny little tank like this. But quite frankly, if you ever go to a fish shop, you're going to go buy fish. But if you're going to go buy shrimp, right, you will notice that they tend to keep a lot of shrimp in small tanks. So I personally don't think that there's an issue with putting 3 to 4 shrimp. I kept it at 3 to 4 shrimp in something like this. It's not a huge biological load on the water. Again, I'm hoping that the plants and the substrate are going to do a great job at filtering the water, since there is no filter, right, in this little tank. But personally, I don't feel like there's an issue with putting at least 3 shrimp in here. I'm pretty sure they're going to do great. There's going to be more than enough area for them. I mean, they're tiny little creatures. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed. And also stay tuned, because there's going to be way more scapes. I have probably my biggest scape coming up in the next video. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to put that out, but it's probably going to be within the next 2 weeks. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.